Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Billsology. I am your host, ARich, Hakeem Richens. And if you don't know me by now, please get to know me. This is indeed the Built in Buffalo Network. How is everybody doing today? This is a beautiful Saturday, a little cold, a little snow where I'm at, but I'm alive, I'm healthy, so it's beautiful nevertheless, right? And time is moving forward today. So everybody, we're about to lose an extra hour of sleep. I hope y'all prepared. Summertime, spring is on the horizon. The time is indeed moving forward today. If you wasn't aware, now you are aware of that. I hope everybody's having a blessed day and a great weekend thus far. Before I get started, if you're watching this on Twitter, please give this a like, give this a retweet. If you're watching on Facebook, give this a like, give this a share. If you're watching on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're thinking about. Please subscribe. Please give this a like. I appreciate everybody for joining in. New people, old people, everybody. I appreciate everyone. We have some comments rolling in. How's everybody doing? I got my brother Dan Kelly in the building. What's going on, Dan? A lot of stuff going on this week, right? A lot of transactions we got to get into going on this week in the NFL. It's a crazy week of the NFL. We definitely going to dive into it. What's going on? What's going on, Mitch? Kenny, what's going on? I got my sister T in the building. What's going on, T? Got my brother Kim in the building. What's going on? The Golden Sparrow. What's going on, man? How you doing? I got Anthony in the building. I got Tony in the building. I'm glad everybody is in tune to Billsology tonight. And I'm gonna get started, right? I know everybody we want to talk about the Buffalo Bills, and we're definitely going to dive into them, right? It's free agency, it's the off season. Even though I feel there is no such thing as an off season in football. I believe football, the NFL, is a 365-day, 24 hours a day operation, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day operation. And we're seeing all these crazy things going on throughout the NFL, right? And I know us as Bills fans are like, when the hell are the Buffalo Bills going to make that move? When the hell are we going to see breaking news from the Buffalo Bills and our team acquire a free agent or a big name free agent or an impact player? But right now, I got to call a spade, right? Buffalo Bills are a little short on change. The Buffalo Bills are a little short on dollars. And when your money's low, it's hard to get expensive toys when your money's low. It's hard to get expensive toys very early when your money's a tad low. So I would say, even though it's frustrating to see everybody in the AFC getting better, it looks as if all impact players are heading to the AFC, right? And even though it's frustrating to see, us as Buffalo Bills fans, we have to be patient. Our time is coming. I believe in Sean McDermott. I believe in Brandon Beane. They're going to do their due diligence in terms of getting the right impact players, getting the right pieces to go with the core players for the Buffalo Bills to continue to sustain success and compete in the AFC and in the rest of the NFL, right? So it's all about patience. That's what we have to have as fans, and I know we lack that as fans at times, is patience, especially when you see your peers, the teams around you, the teams that could affect your ability to go to the championship, add names and get better. So patience is key. Patience is a virtue right now. But I'm gonna get into the show, and I want to discuss the transactions. A lot of different things going on around the NFL. A lot of different news going on in the NFL, right? So we're going to start the show off by and the first thing I have to discuss, right? And I know this one in particular, it's been a hot topic. It's been a hot topic because people are going to cast their judgments no matter what. People are going to say what they want to say no matter what. Not even with this topic, but with every topic. People are going to express the opinions they have, and everybody has an opinion about this particular situation and this particular person, and I got to get into it. Deshaun Watson, right? Deshaun Watson was cleared from criminal charges. He will not face any criminal charges. The civil suits will continue. It is still a long road ahead for Deshaun Watson. And I want to get y'all thoughts. I want to get y'all opinions on this because we all have an opinion one way or another on what's going on, right? So I want to express my feelings, my thoughts, and then I'm going to get into yours. Deshaun Watson, cleared from criminal charges, still a long road ahead. Civil suits is still awaiting. There's still probably a lot of money on the table that he may have to settle with. Who knows, depending on what really happened, right? Because only 23 people know the truth. And that's Deshaun Watson and the 22 other women that is allegedly accusing him for sexual harassment and sexual assault, right? So before I get y'all opinions on it, I want to give my take on this whole situation, right? Now, 22 women is a lot of damn women. That is a lot of women coming forth that is accusing Deshaun Watson of heavy accusations. And there's no denying that. We're going to see how everything unfolds. But I see a lot of people already casting judgment. And me personally, I feel like this. If Deshaun Watson is indeed guilty, if there is evidence and there is proof that he is indeed guilty of these accusations, then I believe that the justice system should do their part and put his ass in jail. I believe that the NFL should do their part and he should never play a down in the NFL again if this is indeed true, and especially how bad it may look if he's indeed guilty, right? So I want to say those things and get it out the way. If he is convicted and if there's evidence and proof, Deshaun Watson should face strict penalties as far as jail time. And in my opinion, he should never see another down in the NFL again. But I'm going to say this, but I'm a guy, I don't know about y'all, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a guy that believes in the old saying. And that old saying, and it's old by now because everybody cast their judgments before the truth, right? Innocent before proven guilty. I'm one of those guys that I see accusations. It could be about anything. It could be about rape, murder, petty theft. It doesn't matter. I believe in innocent until proven guilty. And this is why I cannot cast no judgment on not only Deshaun Watson, but anybody that has been tried for a crime and they didn't get their justice just yet. So as much as I know people are going to have their opinions, as much as 22 women, that's a lot of women. That is a lot of women, but it is something to be said when you have 22 women and there is no criminal charges faced, right? We know the justice system is going to do their due diligence in finding a guilty verdict or finding some type of evidence to prove that Deshaun Watson is indeed guilty of these crimes. And again, if he is, they should put his ass under the jail. If he is, he should never play a down in the NFL again. But I'm a guy that believes in innocent until proven guilty. And until that day happens, I have to hold forth my judgment, and I have to sit on the sidelines in terms of saying, hey, Deshaun Watson shouldn't play a down in the NFL again without me knowing the truth yet, right? Without me knowing the verdict yet. I can't say those things. And that's just how I feel about the Deshaun Watson situation. I know it's looking crazy. He's come out publicly and speaking, and he's a godly figure. He brings up the Lord a lot, and we hope that when you bring up our God, that you are indeed telling the truth. And this is the first steps of many, I'm sure, of Deshaun Watson trying and attempting to clear his name. So I'm the guy that's going to say, I believe in the system. I believe everybody should get their due diligence and to get their day in court and in the system. And if he's indeed guilty, then he should be treated as such. But he's not guilty. He hasn't pleaded guilty. He had nobody found the right evidence of yet, right? So I have to say that I have to hold my judgment on Deshaun Watson before I give my opinion. Innocent until proven guilty. And that's how I go. I want to get everybody's assessments. I want to get everybody's opinions on Deshaun Watson because I'm pretty sure there's strong opinions on Deshaun, right? We're gonna start with Kenny. Kenny says, I'm hoping if Watson waives his no trade clause, he goes to the Philadelphia for Hurts, Jalen Reagor, and multiple first round picks, including 2 this year. We're gonna see, right? I'm pretty sure that it was an eye opener for a lot of teams in the NFL that's in need of a quarterback. I'm pretty sure it was an eye opener for a lot of general managers that is searching for quarterbacks. And if he's indeed lifted of these allegations, he's the top quarterback to get right now, right? We see certain guys get traded. We see Brady retired. We see Aaron Rodgers, he's re-signed. And I know there's a lot of QB needy teams. The Carolina Panthers are a QB needy team. You talked about the Philadelphia Eagles. You have the New Orleans Saints. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's going to be a lot of teams fighting for Deshaun Watson's services if he is indeed freed of these allegations. And I want to get more thoughts. Lone Wolf says, going to take a long time to sell civil suits. Somebody going to give up a lot of draft capital to get him. And you know what? It may come to that, right? It may come to that. And what is draft capital to teams without a quarterback? If you don't have a quarterback, I know these picks are important, and I know you could get first-round picks and second-round picks, and these guys could be impact players, but if you do not have a quarterback, how far are these other guys going to get you without a franchise guy? How far are these other guys going to get you without somebody above average or at least average that's leading the helm at quarterback? And we're going to get into a few teams that struggled to get over the hump, that struggled to produce wins with all their picks because they lack success at the quarterback position. Get into some more thoughts. Bill says due process of law. Yes, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Bill says have no respect for anybody who abuses women anyway. And I agree with that 100%. If he is indeed, this is where me and you, Bill, we might differentiate a little bit. You seem like you already cast your judgment. I'm not sure. I want to let the process play out. So if he's indeed guilty of these allegations, I agree with you 100%. Throw his ass in jail. Throw the key away if you want to throw the key away. And he should never play it down in the NFL again. But he hasn't been guilty of anything. He hasn't been charged of anything. And until he is, or if he is, I can't cast that judgment. Christopher, he has great lawyers. Hey man, you have great lawyers. 22 women. Sometimes it doesn't matter how great your lawyers are. If you're guilty of something, you're guilty. So we're going to see. And again, not a bad comment at all. Could he be paying people? Could somebody be paying these women money to keep their mouth shut? You know what? I don't remember anymore. You know what? I don't remember. Deshaun Watson didn't do that. Maybe he could be handing money under the table. Maybe there's going to be some type of settlement that him and his lawyers, his team will be working on in the near future. We don't know that, but we're going to see, right? Time is going to play its course, and we're going to see what happens, what unfolds. We're going to see what the NFL does, right? We've seen Ben Roethlisberger a decade ago with his allegations. He faced a punishment about 6 games. We've seen other people's run-ins with the law, and they faced consequences in the NFL, 4 games or 6 games. And it's funny, right? You hit women, is 4 games. Domestic violence, 4 games. Ben Roethlisberger, 6 games. Calvin Ridley, gambling on the sport, he's suspended for the season. Calvin Ridley, betting on football, he's suspended for the season. Domestic violence and hitting women, you're suspended 4 games and 6 games. I think it's a little backwards, but nevertheless, I'm not the NFL commissioner, so I'm going to hold my judgment on that for another day as well. Any more thoughts before I move on? Bills Mafia. Kaepernick did less than Watson, and that's a whole nother topic, right? That is a whole nother issue with Colin Kaepernick. We've seen his workouts. We've seen his workout videos. He's been working out diligently, it seems like every day for 4 to 6 hours a day. I'm not sure if that man will ever get his shot, but he's going to continue his process in his own way and continue his workouts. But Kaepernick did a lot less than Watson. I don't know what Watson did yet, right? I understand what he's alleged for, but I'm not until the process plays out and somebody can prove these allegations. I cannot go ahead and say this about this man. If we talk all this shit about somebody who may be ultimately innocent, how does that look on us, right? By assuming that this guy is innocent, because it's bad, because women is involved, because a couple things you don't play with is women and children, right? You don't mess around, you don't hit, you don't involve anything bad with women and children. Those are strict violations to the law, and strict violations to us as human beings. Us that's good human beings, right? So I definitely agree, but again, let the process play out. Let's let the process play out. Criminal convictions, not charges. I got my boy Dan Kelly in the background. We're gonna get Dan Kelly in a minute. I want to get his thoughts, see what he's up to. I have a lot of different comments going. Once again, Billsology, ARich, Hakeem Richens. If you don't know me by now, please get to know me. Let me see right quick if I could get Dan Kelly on. Dan, what's going on?
What's up, Rich? I saw you going. I saw you doing your thing for these viewers. 45 people in the chat. I was like, I gotta hop on, see if he needs my help. Not the egotistical version of the Dan Kelly tonight. We're just here.
Okay.
We're talking football. We're talking everything that's going on. But I've been listening, Rich. I've been here listening to what you had to say, and what you just said about how would we be if we're making these charges against him before it's done with the Deshaun Watson case. It happened with Reuben Foster in San Francisco. He was alleged of sexual assault or something along those lines, and it turned out that he was innocent, and they had released him, I believe, from Washington at the time. He ended up going to the 49ers. You look at a guy like Sean Oakman, who was touted as a first-round draft pick. Some allegations against him come up, and he ends up not even getting to the league. So it is important to hold your breath on the Deshaun Watson stuff. I'm with you in the fact that I think, if he did it, get him out. I don't want him anywhere near the
100%. 100%.
And the problem is, Rich, this is 22 different women, okay?
Yeah, that's a lot of women.
And judgment aside, we don't know Deshaun Watson personally. We don't know anything about him. That's a lot of people. It's not like it's one. It's not like it's two. Like it just gets you thinking. And how long was this going on? It's being said that it goes all the way back to college and all this stuff. But Rich, while I'm here on Billsology with Hakeem Richens, if you don't know him, get to know him. I need to poach the subject. We're live right now. You can't turn me down. Conflict of interest next Sunday. After free agency is done, all the big signings are gone, and maybe the Bills pick up a guy or two. I'm hearing Chandler Jones. I'm hearing Rob Gronkowski. Are you up for conflict of interest next Sunday?
Conflict of interest next Sunday? Yes, I'll be free. Sundays is usually my free day, and we definitely can get into some conflict of interest next Sunday. It should be a lot of transactions going on coming up this week, so it should be a lot to talk about, and I'm all in, buddy. We could do it.
All right. You and I will get a time together once the week goes on. Sorry.
Yes, sir. No, you're good. You're good. I want to move on, right? We're going to get into the next topic. Once again, we're going around the NFL, and the next topic of discussion It happened today. This news happened today. Amari Cooper traded to the Cleveland Browns for a 2022 5th and 6th round pick. Now, when I seen this news, I was shocked. I was surprised. I'm looking at 5th and 6th round pick. How disrespectful is this? In my opinion, this is downright disrespectful to get rid of Amari Cooper for free. Because
was this a good trade, Rich? Was this a good trade?
This was a good trade if you're the Cleveland.
For which side? For which side was this a good trade for?
If you're the Cleveland Browns, your 5th and 6th round pick, are they going to make the team? Are they going to make that 53-man roster? Now I know.
Okay. But listen, you traded your 5th and 6th round pick. Okay, guys who would be making a lot less than Amari Cooper at $20 million. Rich, they did not have to make this trade. Who signed Hugh Jackson back? Because this is looking like the Cleveland Browns that went 0-16. This decision was completely just whack, man. Completely whack. He was going to be released. So why would you give up anything for him?
I would say this, because when you're released, you can now choose whatever team you want to go to. And if the Cleveland Browns are a receiving needy team, Amari Cooper, if he had his selection, he probably wouldn't go to Cleveland.
But maybe he would. But maybe he would. Maybe he talked to him.
1 in 32 chance. 1 in 32 chance.
31. The Cowboys don't want him.
Yeah, 1 in 31 chance. Now we're talking about Cooper as a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's only 27 years old. 6 1,000-yard seasons in 8 years.
So can we talk a little bit about the Cowboys situation? Because their problem is the fact that they decided to pay Ezekiel Elliott. And because they're paying Ezekiel Elliott so much in guarantees and per year, they do not have enough money to keep Amari Cooper. Isn't that a little bit crazy?
It all depends on how you look at it.
Is it warranted? Do you think this is worth it? Do you think that Ezekiel Elliott should still be on the Cowboys, and that means that Amari Cooper has to find a new home?
I mean, I think that they value, for whatever reason. Now, I'm not the Cowboys. I'm not in the organization. I'm not Jerry Jones, but I think they value Ezekiel Elliott more than Amari Cooper at this point.
What do you think? I know you're not the GM. You're not the head coach. But what, in your personal opinion, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is, if I'm going to trade Amari Cooper, I want more than a 5th and 6th round pick in return. If I'm going to trade him,
you were going to release him. They should be happy to get anything for him.
Man, I guess so. Especially if you have if you're looking at it now, they have Ezekiel Elliott. They have receivers. They want Michael Gallup. They want Gallup back. They have CeeDee Lamb.
Very, very good. Gallup is a very good receiver.
CeeDee Lamb's going to take over.
He still has a lot to learn, but a lot of potential. A lot of potential for CeeDee Lamb. It's just it's a weird way of doing business if you're the Cowboys, and it's a weird way of doing business if you're the Browns. I understand that he's a really good player and could be a top 5 route runner in the league, but the first news to come out, if you remember, about this Amari Cooper situation was the fact that they were looking to trade him. Or not trade him. They were going to release him, was the first news that broke. The Cowboys are going to be releasing Amari Cooper because of, cap, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, the news came out that they wanted to trade him. So they were in a tough situation because everybody knew he was going to be released. So I like your point about the fact that, hey, maybe the Browns didn't think they could poach him over, but $20 million is a lot of money. Not to mention the Browns. Okay, so Baker Mayfield, right? The number 1 overall pick, comes in his rookie year, struggles a little bit. His second year, plays a really good football. And then his third year, he struggles a lot. So what are you doing? Are you expecting, to go quarterback again? And is this going to be the guy that I don't know. I don't know what either team is thinking. I think this is a C for both teams, Rich. In the trade.
And you know what? I'm not mad at that at all. C for both teams sounds about accurate. The Cleveland Browns, they're not re-signing Juice Landry.
What are your thoughts on Jarvis? You think he's still a good wide receiver in the NFL?
I think he has to be in a great situation. I don't think any team can just go out and get a Juice Landry. I do think he's an older player. I think his speed is a little diminished. So I don't think he's the player he once was when his early days with the Cleveland Browns or with the Miami Dolphins. But he's still a serviceable player. But it's more about Baker Mayfield. Look at all the weapons Baker Mayfield had in his career compared to the rest of the 2018 class.
Or the rest of the Browns quarterbacks ever. This could be more talent than any other Browns quarterback has ever had the chance to be able to throw to.
He's had Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Juice Landry, OBJ, David Njoku, Austin Hopper, now Amari Cooper, and probably the best offensive line in football. So no more excuses for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and let's talk about this. We said we're going around the league, but of course, Built in Buffalo is a Buffalo-centric channel. If Amari Cooper is worth a 5th and a 6th round pick, by the way, they got a 6th or a 5th back. I believe it's a 5th or a 6th round draft pick. So essentially, that's one draft pick, a 5th round draft pick for a top 5 route runner in the league, a guy who you said had 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Correct.
Four not consecutive, but four 1,000-yard seasons. 6 1,000-yard seasons in 8 years. Go ahead.
You can say he's overrated if you'd like, and that's debatable. It depends on where you rate him. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's probably a top 15 wide receiver. Maybe he used to be top 10, but let's call him top 15 for now. I know there's a lot of young wide receivers in the league. So my point I'm getting to, Rich, here is if he's worth that, what is Cole Beasley worth? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's
an excellent question.
If Cole Beasley does not want to play in Buffalo this coming year, I believe he's going to be released. They're not going to get anything for him. Hey, maybe he gets picked up. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets picked up by another team. But with the trades that are going on, it's just insane. Rich, did you talk Russell Wilson when you started the show today?
No, I'm glad
because
you let it right. Now you didn't mess up the segment like you did last week. you let it correct. So now we're gonna go in to this young man. Let's talk about it because perfect segue. Russell Wilson, former Seattle Seahawk and 9-time Pro Bowler Russell Wilson, is traded to the Denver Broncos for Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th round pick. Dan Kelly, what's your thoughts on this trade? Do you like this trade? Did the Denver Broncos give up too much?
You know, it's been this trade came out of nowhere, first of all, for me. Like it was left field. I knew it was a possibility, but the fact that it happened, I was at work, everybody was going crazy, everybody was talking about it. I thought, when it first happened that the Broncos probably lost the trade. Because you are giving up a lot. But then, you go back and you remember certain things. Russell Wilson, a proven winner in the NFL, a very good starting quarterback. You could argue that he's top 5, top 10, whatever you want to call it. Your first round draft picks aren't guaranteed to hit ever. It could be the number 1 overall pick. It could be the 32 overall pick. It doesn't matter. They're never guaranteed to hit. What does that mean about your second rounders? Well, that means they're never guaranteed to hit, and third rounders and fourth rounders and so on. Every draft pick you have is a question mark until they play. You give up a guy like Shelby Harris. Okay, he's an all right defensive end. He's okay. You give up Noah Fant. Okay, it hurts a little more because he's a younger player, but still not proven yet. I think the Denver Broncos won this trade. I think it's plain and simple because you look at what's been going on the past few years, Rich. Brady goes to Tampa Bay, wins the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford goes to the Rams, wins a Super Bowl. This is the way of the NFL right now, Rich. If you don't have a quarterback, you go and get one. So props to the Broncos for doing it, and their team all around is really good.
And I'm gonna get my rebuttal on, and then I'm gonna get some thoughts in the comments. Go in the comment section, see what the people think. I agree with you, 100.
Come on, we can't be agreeing. Nobody wants to hear us agree.
I have to agree 150% here. This is exactly what you have to do if you want to compete in the AFC West out of all divisions. and in the
And going to
NFL.
that, Rich, I just want to mention a comment I heard today on the Pat McAfee show. He had on Greg Olson, former Panthers tight end and former Seahawks tight end, and he was asked about this. Do players consider the division that they're going into? Like, are they scared? Because as fans and as people who talk about this kind of stuff, we talk about that all the time. Hey, would you want to go into that division? And the way that Greg Olson said it was the fact that the way these guys look at it, the way that a Russell Wilson's going to look at it is, hey, I'm not going to the AFC West and going to be afraid of Patrick Mahomes and afraid of, Justin Herbert. They're going to be afraid of me. And that's the way that these players' mentality is. And I thought that was just really interesting to hear. Because if I was a quarterback, I understand, you want to beat the best, but you also want, the number one seed. You also want to win football games. So go on. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You know what? When you're playing a sport, everything is competition. You have a competitive nature to you. You have a competitive spirit to you. So I don't think that any great player, in my opinion, now, of course, there's great players that, like they like to team up, and we know what's going on with this new generation, especially in the NBA. But when you have the competitive spirit, I think these guys is saying to themselves, I am the best, and I want to go and prove that I am the best. Right. And even though Patrick Mahomes is in the division, even though Justin Herbert's in the division, even though Derek Carr's in the division, Russell Wilson's saying, well, I'm a pretty damn good quarterback myself. Right. And I get an opportunity. The Seattle Seahawks, they traded me, left a sour taste in my mouth for whatever situation. Now I'm going to go out, rejuvenate myself, and rejuvenate the Denver Broncos fan base and their culture. And again, I'm glad that you made excellent points about we don't know what you're going to get from draft picks. Of course, there's going to be guys that you hit on, but there's going to be a lot that you miss on.
Well, how about we just go back and look at the Denver Broncos first round picks and how often do they hit?
Right? I mean, we could look at that, and I could do you one better. The last 5 years, think about the last 5 years with the Denver Broncos since 2017. They had a record of 5-11 in 2017. Know who their quarterback was? Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, and Paxton Lynch. 2018, they were 6-10. Know what their quarterback was? Case Keenum. 2019, they were 7-9. Their quarterback was Drew Lock. In 2020, it was Drew Lock again. They was 5-11. 2021, they had Teddy Bridgewater and went 7-10. So they had all their picks. They had all their picks: first round, second round, third round. They drafted all these guys, but they were still a losing franchise. Why? Because they didn't have a quarterback that could compete with the likes of Patrick Mahomes, now Justin Herbert, and Derek Carr. So that quarterback position is important.
A question from Bill Brewster here. What are the Seahawks doing for quarterback now? This year's draft class is mediocre. It's quite simple. Their quarterback is Drew Lock. Drew Lock is not dead in the water yet. Now he's not the way he was when he came out of college and people were, excited about watching him play. I don't think he's that anymore, but I think he can still be a viable quarterback. And guess what? The Seahawks are in rebuild. That's what's going on. They're willing to tell you, hey, we are not going to compete right now. And that's what they did by trading Russell Wilson. But Rich, I had their list of first round quarterbacks in the last couple of years. Let's go through them. So Patrick Surtain in 2021, a good draft pick, but has it really helped them? Not quite yet. Maybe it helps down the line. Jerry Jeudy in 2020, a good draft pick, a very good draft pick there. Noah Fant, obviously traded,
Gone.
hasn't quite worked out for Noah Fant yet. Bradley Chubb, a guy who kind of looked really, really good at the start of his career, but I have not heard a lot of Bradley Chubb lately. What are your thoughts on Chubb, Rakeem?
A man of a lot of potential, but haven't seen the substance we're supposed to see from his caliber of player yet.
Okay, and then we get into the good ones. Ready? Garrett Bowles, who was okay for a couple of years and then faded out. Very, very simply. Paxton Lynch, no longer in the league. Shane Ray didn't work out. Bradley Roby, okay, he was a slot corner, a good one at that. But for the 31st pick, Sylvester Williams. And then we go all the way back to 2011 where they took Von Miller. We can tell they hit on that one. But their first round draft picks have not all been, major blockbusters out of the park home runs. So, hey, it happens. If you want to compete, and somebody mentioned it in the comments here just a little bit ago, Elway couldn't get a quarterback. Here we go. Lone Wolf. Of course, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
Elway was so bad at picking QBs, somebody had to go get a real one. And that's a great comment. It was about time for the Denver Broncos. They have not had a good quarterback since Peyton Manning hung up the cleats.
Great job by sophomore GM George Patton and rookie head coach Nathaniel Hackett understanding the importance and magnitude of getting a great quarterback in a division that has great quarterbacks. So we're going to see what happens with the Denver Broncos in the AFC West.
Now, Rich, have you ever seen the NFL?
NFL, never. Yes. Never seen the NFL. NFL.
So the NFL was a segment by Dave Damashek on NFL Network, and it used to be like, if this happens, this happens, and if this happens, this happens, and it's like a fantasy world where something's changed. So I want to take you to a fantasy world for a second and see your thoughts on this. So this was the trade for Russell Wilson. 2 first-round picks. Was it 2 second-round picks as well?
Yep.
2 second-round picks, 3 players,
and a fifth-round pick.
And a 5th-round pick. So a total of 7 assets is that?
Yep.
Okay. If that trade is offered to the Green Bay Packers for Aaron Rodgers, and you're the Packers GM, what do you say to that?
I say no.
No? Why is that?
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up Aaron Rodgers for a Drew Lock and for a situation that could be murky. I don't have no idea. Now, if I had an idea, if I knew for sure I had another capable quarterback, above average quarterback coming in for sure.
Are you telling me you're a Jordan Love hater?
I don't think Jordan Love is the guy.
But how do you know that right now?
You don't know. And right now, I have a back-to-back MVP of the NFL. Why would I want to take that chance? Why would I want to take that opportunity to acquire assets that may not even live up to their potential because I'm lacking at the starting quarterback position?
Okay, so
look at Noah Fant. Noah Fant is an incredibly talented tight end who's yet to live up to his potential because he doesn't have good quarterback play to throw him the ball.
Spin, great to see you. Not all my takes are in a fantasy world. Appreciate you, though. Rich, it was said that obviously Russell Wilson had a no-trade clause in his contract. So he was able to veto certain trades if they came through. Now, the report is, and obviously we don't know if it's true or false, but it was reported that the Washington Commanders offered up 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson. But he said no. The only place he wanted to go was Denver. Do you think that Denver is better than Washington? If you take the quarterbacks out of the equation, now I know quarterback's the most important position in all sports, and I'm deleting it right now. I understand that. But just based on situations, do you think Denver's the better option than Washington?
I would have to say yes. I think they're more attractive right now.
How so? Because I really think the Commanders are right there, man. Terry McLaurin, they got young wide receivers, a good running back, and a good defense. I know the Broncos have the same thing, but what do you think puts the Broncos over the top?
What puts the Broncos over the top is you get to trade him across the world. You don't have to deal with him in the NFC. And I think that is probably the main deciding factor as to why the Seattle Seahawks was probably more willing to trade to Denver, because now they don't have to see Russell Wilson anytime soon unless both of them ends up in the Super Bowl somehow, and so be it. But trading him within the NFC conference is real murky, and I think it would be a slight disrespect. You have to do what Bill Belichick did to Chandler Jones when he traded him. He traded him out the AFC, way across the country to the Arizona Cardinals, and I think the Seattle Seahawks did the right move in treating Russell Wilson as such. Now I want to move on.
Good call. Comment here from Daniel. Great comment. Snyder is a terrible owner, maybe the worst in the league. Go on, Akeem.
I like that too. Now, transactions been going on all week, hot and heavy all week. And right after we get the Russell Wilson news, what happens the next day? Khalil Mack.
You're going Khalil. I didn't know if you were going Carson or Khalil. I was confused.
Khalil Mack. The reason why I got to go Khalil Mack, because he is as well as traded into the division right? And he's
Yep.
going to have to be dealing with Russell Wilson and Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes. So the Chicago Bears trade Khalil Mack to the Chargers for a 2022 second round pick and a 2023 sixth round pick. Now, Dan Kelly, I want to get your thoughts, because the first thing I thought was, shit, you get to pair Khalil Mack with Joey Bosa, and now you really have two stud edge rushers on that defensive front that can cause havoc for these great quarterbacks in the AFC West. And I think that type of defensive front is needed. So what's your thoughts on this trade for Khalil Mack? Do you like the trade for the Chargers? What's your thoughts?
I really feel like, before we get into this, I feel like the fact is that, people who are fans and love the sport of football, not even just fans of certain teams, they value players more than the teams value their players, because Khalil Mack should be worth more than this. A second round draft pick and a sixth round draft pick. Is the contract big? Hell yeah. Yeah, it's big. It's 3 years, $63 million, correct?
Yep.
So
that probably has a lot to do with it.
Of course, it does. It does have a lot to do with it. It's a good trade for the Chargers, because it's the same thing we talked about before. Your draft picks are never guaranteed. And when you're in these situations, I'm going to go back to the Bills and the trade for Stephon Diggs. That draft pick was the 25th pick that year, maybe?
22nd pick. It was a 22nd pick.
22nd pick. Okay. So 22nd pick that year. Could they have gotten Justin Jefferson? Yes. Would Justin Jefferson have the same success in Buffalo as he has in Minnesota? Maybe not. Maybe he wouldn't, because the situation matters, the coaching matters. There's a lot of factors that matter. So the fact is, your draft picks are never guaranteed. Khalil Mack, a good trade. I don't know if I can call it great. I agree with you in the fact that it's Mack and Bosa on the sides, and it's kind of what the Rams have done with Aaron Donald, Von Miller. But Aaron Donald moves around, Von Miller moves around. These are kind of just two defensive ends. Does it help the Chargers? It helps them a lot. But how much money do they have left now? Can they do anything else in free agency? What do they do in the draft? It makes them better. And what are the Bears doing, really? Like, I don't know. Who do you think won the trade? Is it the Chargers?
I think the Chargers. I mean, when you have a big name like Khalil Mack, I do think the Bears are kind of in a rebuild mode. They got the new head coach over there, the former Indianapolis defensive coordinator, I believe.
Spin says Mack isn't worth a second round pick.
I mean, hey, that's Spin's opinion. I think he is. I
guess it depends on who you are. Because if you have the 33rd pick in the draft, would I trade that for Khalil Mack? Maybe not. But if I have 47, maybe I'm more enticed to do it.
Now, does it come with some risk? Yes, he's 31 years old. He has 3 years, $63 million left on that deal, and he had foot surgery. Foot surgery. He had a foot injury, ultimately having foot surgery. So does it come with risk? Yes, it comes with risk, but at the same time, that's what this league is all about. You have to take risk, in my opinion. And again, I'm gonna allude to the quarterbacks that the Chargers have to face in the division. Patrick Mahomes. We see how elusive he could be, right? The Buffalo Bills know firsthand.
It's a weird kind of elusive too. It's one that you don't expect. It's like this guy should not be moving as well as he does.
Right, great pocket awareness from him. And let's not ignore the fact that the LA Chargers, they had to upgrade their defensive front. They was 30th in the NFL in run defense last season. So that's something that they definitely had to improve on. And they allowed the highest conversion rate on third downs at 69%. Nice. So Khalil Mack, he can definitely do some things to improve the Chargers defensive front, and not only that, improve their defense in its entirety, open up some lanes for the defensive tackles, get some more one-on-ones for Joey Bosa so he could create havoc. I think this was a excellent move. Offensive coordinators are going to have to now game plan for Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. So I like the trade. I don't love it, because it does come with some risk. 31 years old, foot surgery. I don't think he dominated for the Chicago Bears like I thought he would. He had a good 4 years, but I don't think he dominated like I thought he would. His first year, he had 12.5 sacks. He hasn't reached double-digit sacks ever since. But in 4 years with the Bears, 36 sacks, 14 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries. That's about 9 sacks a season. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I would take 9 sacks a season right now from a player. So
a comment from Kenny: 30 million cap hit for a guy who hasn't had double-digit sacks since 2018. No thanks. Hey, I want to tell you something about this comment, Kenny. First of all, opinions, everybody has them. They're just like noses. It's perfectly fine. This is an opinion that I would have had. But the more and more I watch football and the more I think about it and the more I talk to guys like Akeem and other guys and Built in Buffalo, it's not always about all the sacks, man. It's about what else you do. It's about the pressures. It's about, your chemistry as a teammate. Can you help the other guys get better? Stuff like that really plays its part. You look at a guy like Jerry Hughes. Now, Jerry Hughes may not have the sack numbers anymore, but that doesn't mean he's completely valueless. I saw a post from CBS Sports over the week that put Jerry Hughes as one of the top defensive end free agents. Would I put him atop my top defensive ends? I don't think so, but he's still being talked about like that in the league. So I think that's an important thing. It's not always about the sacks, but the cap hit, obviously crazy. So if the Chargers have the cap space, okay, as long as they can do more, because Justin Herbert's going to be getting paid probably within these next 3 years.
Now, we spoke about Jerry Hughes. I want to ask you a question about him before we move on to other things going on in the league. Jerry Hughes, his pressure rate has been up. Is always amongst the league leaders as far as pressure.
And he's always held too. I want him to go to a team that has like the least amount of penalties called on them, because that's where he will flourish.
So, in your opinion, the Buffalo Bills shouldn't re-sign Jerry Hughes? You think they should move on from Jerry?
Should not re-sign Jerry Hughes. I love him as a Bill. I love him as a player. If I had to choose between Addison and Hughes, I would choose Hughes. I'll tell you that.
All day.
But if one of my options is neither, I'm going neither. You have invested in these young guys who are sitting on the bench more than 50% of the time. Epineza, Basham. Need I go on? Because we can go on. There's more. Yeah. There's more young defensive ends on this team. Oliver's obviously playing defensive tackle. Now, I don't know if this is a McDermott thing. I don't know who does the defensive line stuff. I understand you want to keep guys fresh. I get it. But maybe keeping them in longer would help them. Maybe it gets them revved up. I don't know. I'm not a coach in the NFL. I'll tell you guys one thing. I never will be a coach in the NFL. I know it's sad. I know some of you have those dreams for me, but it's not going to happen.
Quick yes or no's. I want to get some quick yes or no's in the comments right quick. Jerry Hughes, would you re-sign Jerry Hughes? Yes or no? I want to get some comments in the comment section. Would you re-sign Jerry Hughes? I'll even put a cap figure here. 1 year, $6 million, Jerry Hughes. Yes or no? 1 year, $6 million, Jerry Hughes. Yes or no? Let me get some comments.
As of right now, probably not, because the Bills have $1.9 million in cap space, if I'm not mistaken. But another great comment here from Kenny, and that's the fact that if our picks are Hughes or Addison, what do you think about Shaq? Because he's been talking about Buffalo since December.
Yeah. Now, I want to know why. Does he miss Buffalo? What happened in Miami? What happened with the Jets? Was he struggling over there?
I bet. And I could be wrong, Rich, but my guess is that he misses winning. Because the Miami Dolphins had a tough year and they were supposed to be good. And then he goes to the Jets. And I'm sorry, but the Jets are not good. they're just not. It doesn't matter, what's going on. Would I want Shaq Lawson back? I don't know. I mean, he had his best year in Buffalo. That's cool. How much does he help? Is he a fit in the system? Stuff like that. I would, again, like Spin said there, you just brought it up. I would like a pass rushing defensive end. I would like somebody who can get to the quarterback, because we don't have that, Rich. We really don't. We have people who can pressure a quarterback, but for some reason, and I don't know who knows the answer to this, but they cannot get a sack, especially on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna move on to the next topic. Now listen, I love Shaq. I love him as a human being. I love the fire he brought to the Buffalo Bills. I love the combination that we had with him and Jordan Phillips. I would pass on Shaq.
There's one thing.
I would pass on Shaq Lawson, and I respect him, and I hope he does well. And who knows, he may be a Buffalo Bill. But with the money that we have now, if we had $60 million in cap space, then that's a whole different ordeal. We had money to burn, then that's a whole different ordeal. But being that we're cap strap as it is, I personally would pass on Shaq Lawson.
And there's one thing that bothers me about him, and this might be just a fan thing, is the fact that we offered him the same contract as the Miami Dolphins, and he decided to leave. He decided he didn't want to be a part of the Buffalo Bills anymore. And now he wants to come crawling back. I don't really like it. I don't really like the fact that you can leave and then just think, oh, they're going to embrace me the same way they used to and stuff like that. And it's going around in the comments right now. You guys are doing a great job in the comments today, helping out, and we appreciate you for coming in and watching the stream. There's stuff going on right now, Rich. It's a deep defensive end class in free agency. They can go elsewhere, and you can go Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones is a guy who is available, and not to mention that fact that he's available. He was born in Rochester, and a quote from Chandler Jones this week said that the money does not matter. So if the money doesn't matter, here's $1. Come to the Buffalo Bills, please. We need your help.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, when he says that, I don't think he really means to that extent. I'm thinking he's saying the money doesn't matter. I don't need $22 million a year, $20 million a year. I would be okay with $14, $15 million a year. You know, that's what I think where he says the money don't matter. But even that, if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to try to pull that trigger and acquire a Chandler Jones. So we're going to get into that in a second. But before that, I want to get into the last transaction in terms of other teams and around the NFL. Carson freaking Wentz. Indianapolis Colts trade Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders for a 2022 and 2023 third-round pick. Now, I saw some of Hard Knocks. I didn't see any of these things go on.
Did they get a pick back as well?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure. So far, I just read 2022 and 2023 third-round picks that the Indianapolis Colts receive for Carson Wentz. Now, what's your thoughts on Carson Wentz? Let me read some of his stats. 3,500.
Okay, Rich. 1 second. Sorry. The official details on the trade: a 2022 third-round pick, a 2023 third-round pick that escalates to a second-rounder if Carson Wentz plays 70% of snaps, and then a 2022 second-round pick. So a second and third-round pick this year, a third-round pick next year that could be a second. But they also received a second-round pick back and Carson Wentz. So essentially, it's the third-round pick, the 2 third-round picks, but it can turn into a third-round pick and a second-round pick.
3,563 yards, 27 TDs, 7 interceptions. What are your thoughts on this trade? And are the Indianapolis Colts, they don't know who's going to be their quarterback, and they was willing to give up Carson Wentz. Was it that bad with Carson Wentz? What are your thoughts on Carson Wentz as a quarterback, and who ultimately won this trade?
Well, it depends, man. It depends on how you look at it. I'm going to look at it from the Commanders' point of view first. So I already mentioned I think Washington is a good team, possibly a quarterback away from contending for the playoffs and maybe even being a dark horse to go all the way, because I think they're a really deep team. Does the Carson Wentz trade make them better? I want you to bring us back up on screen for a second. By about that much, it makes them better, because they have a guy who has experience in the NFL playing the quarterback position and isn't brand new. But it doesn't make them a juggernaut. It doesn't make them anything special. So I think it's a lot to trade for him, to be honest with you. Carson Wentz disappointed last year. And I want to go to the Colts' point of view in a quote I saw this week talking about the fact that, and I don't know who put out the post, but it said that Carson Wentz was not respected in the locker room. He wasn't the alpha dog quarterback who could be a leader, I believe was the quote, that he couldn't lead the team. Now, as the starting quarterback of any franchise, you're supposed to be the leader of the team when it comes to that position. I'm not saying it's always the case, but you have to have a voice. And it's even said that in December, head coach for the Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich, told Colts owner Jim Irsay, hey, I'm sorry for pushing you into trading for Carson Wentz because it didn't work out. So what do the Colts do from here? I don't know. But I will tell you that this trade makes Washington slightly better. It makes Indianapolis desperate. Yeah. And there's been two teams linked to Deshaun Watson, and that's been the Philadelphia Eagles and the Carolina Panthers. Why the Eagles keep getting mentioned, I don't know. I think Jalen Hurts really played well last season, and he has potential moving forward. The Carolina Panthers, I understand. But if Deshaun Watson would somehow end up with the Colts, that would be a very scary team. Now, the reason it may not happen is Frank Reich, I believe, became a pastor during his time, away from the NFL. So if any of these allegations, come to fruition and stuff like that, I don't know what the locker room's like. But Rich, imagine Deshaun Watson on that Colts team for a second.
You know what? It would be scary. How much quarterbacks? How much elite quarterbacks in the AFC would we have to contend with? I don't even want to think about that right now.
Exactly. You don't want to think about it.
To be honest with you.
But hey, in that division, how many franchise quarterbacks are there? You're in the AFC South. Yeah. Jacksonville? No. Tennessee? Arguably not.
Yeah.
It is the same division. You're right, Bill. And that's why it probably won't happen.
It won't happen. Yeah. And I'm looking. Let's look at it. I'm gonna look at it. You gave your synopsis on it. I'm gonna look at it from a Washington Commanders standpoint as well, right? I think that first of all, they might be kicking themselves a little bit because they got the news from Deshaun Watson, and who knows, they're a team that probably would have been in play for a Deshaun Watson had they got that news a little earlier. So are they kicking themselves for having Carson Wentz?
I think they were a little jittery after Russell Wilson went. They were like, gotta do it.
Because I think the Houston Texans, they probably would have took 3 first-round picks like the Washington Commanders was offering the Seattle Seahawks.
Would you offer that for Deshaun Watson, though?
Would I offer that for Deshaun Watson?
Three first-round picks? If he's found innocent, 3 first-round. I don't know if I do 3. I would do 2. I would do 2 first-round draft picks if he's found innocent and stuff like that. But 3 for a guy who hasn't proven himself in the playoffs the way Russell Wilson has, who hasn't had the consistency that Russell Wilson has. You preach about consistency all the time, Rich. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. But I'm thinking that this is kind of a desperate move. Ron Rivera is probably on the hot seat, 2 years. He had cancer, so they probably gave him some leeway battling cancer. But if you look at it, 7-9 last year, 7-9 in 2020, 7-10 in 2021. Their quarterbacks was Tyler Haneke and Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins. So they probably feel that even with Carson Wentz, that they are possibly at least contending for the NFC East. And you talk about their skill positions. They have skilled players. They have players on the offensive side of the ball that can play and produce. They got Scary Terry. They got Curtis Samuel over there. They got the other kid that was a rookie last year, Damani Brown. They have Antonio Gibson. They have Logan Thomas, who I wish the Buffalo Bills would have kept. Right?
He's
so
good,
they have.
Man. I like me some Logan Thomas.
So they have the necessary weapons to make a run at least for the NFC East title and give the Dallas Cowboys some fits. So we're going to see what happens with the Washington Commanders and Carson Wentz and this whole ordeal.
A comment from Renaissance Man here. If you offer 3 first-round picks for Wilson, you do the same for Watson.
Yes.
Just because he's younger? I disagree. I disagree with this because just the fact that he's younger doesn't make him better.
Hey, you know what? I agree 100% with Renaissance man. I would now it would be tough. 3 is like damn, but it's Deshaun Watson. He's in this prime of his career. You just told us in the audience you may not hit with those first round picks.
3 of them, though. 3 of them, Rich.
Washington Commanders, how often, where you think they're going to be picking in the first round with the skill position players I named, and now with Deshaun Watson, and Montez Sweat and Chase Young and those guys on the defensive side of the ball. You have to be thinking late 20s. If I'm the coach, I'm thinking late 20s. So
all right. Good points. Good points. I like it.
Now,
when you can shut me up, Rich, that's a really good thing. But a comment from Lone Wolf here: Watson has a no trade clause. He can decide if he wants to go to a certain team. That's true. That is true. That Deshaun Watson does have a choice in the matter. He doesn't get to choose who calls about him though. So it depends on what the trade offer is, and then obviously Deshaun Watson's told after the fact. These no trade clauses seem to be going around a lot to these quarterbacks, and It's becoming like the NBA, Rich. Mm-hmm. These trades are becoming more and more frequent. What are your thoughts on that? Do you like it? Do you like the fact that a player can just be like, hey, I don't want to play for you anymore, and you're going to trade me?
You know what? I like the no trade clause. I like the no trade clause because it gives the player some type of power, some type of freedom to say, hey, you're just not going to dump me wherever you want to dump me, because this is indeed a business, and it could be a nasty business. Players get cut, players get released, players get traded all the time. So once you have some type of power, and that power is being a good player, because average players don't get no trade clauses. You have to be an above average to great player to get these no trade clauses, and that gives them some power, that gives them some equity in terms of where I want to play football next. So I like it on the player side. So I'm not mad at it at all.
I'm saying, like, when it doesn't come to the no trade clause, it's like these guys can still just be like, hey, I'm not playing for you. Trade me to another team. I'm done here. Jairus Byrd kind of did it with the Bills when he refused to play because of a foot injury that he didn't really have, and he ends up getting traded to the Saints. Odell Beckham Jr. does it. I believe twice, basically. Hey, I'm not playing for you, trade me. Hey, I'm not playing for you, trade me. And I understand these are elite players at the time, elite of the elite. But man, that kind of bothers me that you can just be like, hey, I'm just done. I'm not playing for you. And it's weird though, Rich, because it's a double-sided coin. I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I know my stuff a little bit. DeMar DeRozan played for the Toronto Raptors for, I believe, 9 years or 10 years. And then he gets traded out of nowhere after they win a title. And it's like,
think of the feelings that's involved and the emotions and the strings he had attached to the city.
And that's when you got to understand that it's a business. And I get it, but it's such a tough road to be a part of and to judge, because I feel like it's a player by player thing. Like if you're the biggest diva in the world and you tell me you want to get traded, I have certain feelings for you. If you're a guy who's played 10 years here and you deserve to go elsewhere, the fact that the Broncos traded Von Miller away just to help him, not for their own financial gain, not for their own success. I mean, they got something in return, a bag of chips, a pickle maybe, but hey, like they gave him a chance to succeed, and that's great to see. It kind of rubs me the wrong way when somebody's like, hey, trade me. I'm done.
And excellent points by Dan Kelly. If you're watching this once again on Twitter, please give this a share, give this a like. On Facebook, give this a share, give this a like. On YouTube, welcome, subscribe, give this a like. You're in tune to Billsology with myself and Mr. Dan Kelly, the real Dan Kelly. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in. And I want to get into this, Dan. I have to get into this because
where are we going, Rich?
We've been talking about a lot of stars, right? We talked about Deshaun Watson. We talked about.
I don't recognize that man. He hasn't played football in 2 years.
We talk about the trade with Amari Cooper. We talk about Carson Wentz. We talk about the trade with Russell Wilson. We talk about Khalil Mack and the trade with the Chargers. The Buffalo Bills re-signed Jake Kummerow. to a one-year deal.
God, no.
Special teamer, 6 receiver for the Bills, 1-year deal. While all these other signings and blockbuster trades and great moves for other fan bases was going off, the Buffalo Bills headlines was re-signing Jake Kumerow. Dan Kelly, what are your thoughts, if any, do you have on the Buffalo Bills? I know he's a big name. I know it's tough to get into. It's such a big name. But what are your thoughts on our blockbuster move for the week in the Buffalo Bills re-signing Jake Kumerow?
Get this off my screen so the people can see my reaction. Oh my goodness gracious! I want to take you to the post I made when this happened, Rich. When this news came out, I went on social media and I made a quite simple post. It was the fact that the Bills re-signed Jake Kumerow, and I put the caption, "Some things I just don't understand." Because why? Why in the world would you re-sign this man? The best thing he's done, minus scoring that one touchdown against the Denver Broncos, is get commended by Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Now that's great. Good for you that one of the greatest of all time wants to play with you. But come on, is he gonna see the field? We're strapped for salary cap space. You see how angry I am? I'm laughing. I'm bumbling over my words. Why, Rich? Why?
I mean, as a fan, right? It's so frustrating to go through the list of names that I went through, and Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper and Russell Wilson, and the Buffalo Bills re-signed Jake Kumerow. So as a fan,
Rich, let's talk about
frustrating.
That's only a couple of teams. You know, there's 32 teams in the league. A couple of them made trades. There's a lot of teams that are standing out there with no news. Minnesota Vikings, New England Patriots, New York Jets, New York Giants. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on.
Kumerow resigns. Now,
special teams.
Does this mean that he's going to have a role in the offense?
Well, if you look at it right now, look at who are the Buffalo Bills receivers. Cole Beasley once out. Then you have Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis. I'm not a believer in Marquez Stevenson. I'm not a believer in Isaiah Hodgins because they have the potential, but they haven't proved anything worth mentioning. They haven't proved anything that says they deserve a roster spot. And Jake Kumerow, in my opinion, is above all those guys. So if you take Cole Beasley out, if we're standing here today and looking at the wide receiver room for the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to go ahead and say Jake Kumerow is the third receiver.
Now, Rich, a comment from searching for all these here. It says ARich co-host. I do have a name, Mr. Dan Kelly, the real Dan Kelly on Twitter. If you're interested in a follow, Rich.
Oh boy. What
would you be happy going into next year with Jake Kumerow as your third wide receiver?
Of course not.
Of course not. So now when this news came out, did you have the same reaction as I did, where you were questioning your sanity and why the Buffalo Bills decided to re-sign him?
It was I wasn't questioning my sanity because I understand the Buffalo Bills, whether we like it, love it, hate it, or whatever our feelings are towards it, they value special teams. And Jake Kumerow is a core special teams player, core special teams contributor for the Buffalo Bills. And I'm pretty sure they signed him to a minimal contract. And that is why, they went ahead and made the move. Of course, it's a little frustrating. That's not the name you want to see, especially with the lack of money that we possess right now. But they have their values, and we can only hope for, as fans, that they have other moves and other streams of getting impact players on the offensive side of the ball up their sleeve.
It's just, if this was a different year and we weren't strapped for cash and whatever, I don't think I'd care as much. But the fact that the Bills are dealing with a salary cap issue and we're coming out with these special team signings, this is now the second one. I would have loved to see a name like Isaiah McKenzie re-signed. Hey, we've reached an agreement with Isaiah McKenzie to return to the Buffalo Bills. I think that would have been something to talk about. We've reached an agreement to sign Levi Wallace to the Buffalo Bills. That would have been something to talk about. But Jake Kumerow, I'd like to see the amount of time he played last year, just because, like, hey, cool, he has cool hair. There's a lot of guys that have cool hair in the league.
Now,
I don't know. I
now,
really just don't know.
now I want to ask you a question, and I want to get some thoughts in the comments as well. A couple of players was released. AJ Klein was released. John Feliciano was released. The great Matt Hack takes a pay cut. So
he had to. I'm surprised they went to him about a pay cut.
Yeah. Listen, I fully expect, even though he took a pay cut, I fully expect if the punter that they want is there in the 5th or 6th round, if the Talibass of punchers is there, they're going to take that Talibass of punters and he will ultimately be gone. If not, if they can't get their guy, they have Matt Hack on a minimal deal and they'll work it out that way. But I want to ask you, is there any guys off the top of your head that the Buffalo Bills can still release or trade to free up some cap space?
But before we get into it, I want to get back into searching for oldies. Appreciate you with all the comments coming in. Not get ourselves salary can be moved around and converted. Very true. Very true. The fact that you can maneuver some money by moving some contracts and moving some numbers around. But who off the top of your head do you move? Like, can you think of people that have big contracts? Because everybody that's playing for the Buffalo Bills, in my estimation right now, has earned a contract that they deserve. Maybe not Matt Hawk, but we don't need to talk about him. But these guys are getting paid to play their positions. Some guys are on deals. Jordan Poyer is not getting paid like a top 10 safety, So I really don't think there is anybody, Rich. Not off the top of my head, at least. Maybe if I was looking at the numbers, I'd have a different thought process for you. But I don't know what they can do.
Now listen. Now I know a lot of people, and we just had a comment up there. If it all depends on the player and the situation. I'm not a fan of restructuring contracts.
I'm
not a fan of it, because all restructuring contracts is doing is you're putting a band-aid on the now for a bigger issue later. All you're doing is restructuring contracts. You're releasing some cap flexibility for now, but you're going to backload it later, and it's going to become an issue regardless. It's going to become a problem regardless. Now, if you're a team that has a lot of free agents coming off the books, then that's something different. You could restructure some contracts, but all restructuring contracts is doing is putting a band-aid on the now and probably potentially getting yourself into a bigger problem later because you're backloading contracts. So I'm not necessarily a fan of restructuring deals unless they're in the prime of their career or we can extend them. And two players that I have in mind.
A few names here, Rich. I want to see if you get into these. Diggs is one of them that is mentioned by Surgeon for Oldies. Mitch Morse, he recommends. Mitch Morse played really good last year, like a top 5 center at the end of the year. So I don't know if you want to contact him. He already took a pay cut last year. So I don't know if he's a guy that would take another one. Daryl Williams is a guy I can agree with. That's a contract that I didn't think of off the top of my head. And Stella Tule, a guy that I think does need to be released. Thank you, Searching for Oldies, for having the roster ready, because Star is a guy I don't want on this team.
I don't want Star on the team neither. But when you have that dead cap of about $6 or $7 million, Brandon Beane doesn't like dead caps. He doesn't like them big dead caps, and that's something that's big. I think as much as I want Star Latuale off the team, that is something that I don't think Brandon Beane is going to be willing to do. We might end up.
Does dead cap still hit you if it's a trade?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
Yes, dead cap still hits you if it's a trade. So I'm thinking if the Buffalo Bills can upgrade the roster in terms of the defensive tackles, they're going to go to Trent Murphy route with Star Latuale, and he probably won't be active. But
so now bring back those names. Bring back those names that you wanted to talk about. Stephon Diggs, Mitch Morse. What do you got?
Restructure Stephon Diggs' contract. Resign, extend Mitch Morse. He has a 1 year left on his deal.
You just told me that you hated restructuring contracts.
Depending on the deal, depending on the player. I think Stephon Diggs is a player that has prime years left in his career.
So let me put you with this.
Go ahead.
Because the fact is, what you could do with the Diggs situation.
Run into this right here. I would consider releasing. Go ahead and talk.
Wait until next year and give him an extension. You don't have to restructure. I mean, if he's mad or upset and he comes to you, okay, different. But I would say wait until next year, see what the salary cap goes up to, how much more room you have, and pay him like he deserves to be paid. But maybe a restructure is not in the cards for a guy like Stefon Diggs. I don't know him personally. I don't know how much money is a factor to him and stuff like that. So obviously that's different for every player. He seems like he wants to be here.
Yeah.
So which is a good sign. You got some numbers here, names and numbers. Names I'm familiar with. Numbers I'm not so familiar with.
So my whole ordeal about this whole situation when I'm talking about Stefon Diggs or Mitch Morse, and I have numbers with Cole Beasley and Tyler Metcalf and Daryl Williams, I'm trying to free up as much money for the Buffalo Bills as possible so I can indeed make some waves in free agency. So guys I would consider trading or releasing is these three guys right here. Cole Beasley, I would consider trading or releasing.
Josh Allen does not need to restructure his contract. He deserves to be paid the way he is, very handsomely, and he earned every penny. Tre'Davious White does not deserve to be restructured. He earned all of his money. When you restructure contracts, it's not just to create salary cap space. It's usually a player who isn't producing the way you want. Matt Hawk did not get his contract restructured by being one of the best punchers in the league. He got it by failing the team in certain games, certain situations. I'm sorry to cut you off, Rich.
Matt Hawk, I'm pretty sure, was facing a situation like, listen, you're either going to take this pay cut or you're going to get released. Your choice. So I think he said, you know what? I'm gonna take this pay cut. So I think that's what happened there. But with these three guys, Tyler Metcalf, you could save $2.5 million by releasing Tyler. Daryl Williams is an interesting one. He's playing guard now. He's still a serviceable player, but that $6 million in cap space, cap savings could be a factor. What's your thoughts on Daryl Williams? Do you think the Buffalo Bills should move on from Daryl Williams, or you think he's still a player that can be serviceable for the Bills and help the Buffalo Bills win?
So you save $6 million by cutting him. Is that how much his contract is worth in total this year?
I believe.
Would he be making $6 million if he played here?
I believe so. He signed last year. He signed a 3-year, $18 million deal, $6 million annually.
Okay. I'm in the place where our offensive line coach changed. So the first thing I do is say, hey, Cromer, who do you want? Does this guy work in your system? Does this guy work in your system? And what works? That's my first thing. The second thing is hard because your left tackle's set. You got Deion Dawkins at left tackle. Your right tackle's set. You got Spencer Brown, who's going to be coming into his sophomore season. You got Mitch Morse at center. Mitch Morse making a lot of money, but I believe he is probably going to be the center for the Buffalo Bills this coming season. Left guard, right guard. That's what you got left.
Ryan Bates. Get Ryan Bates on this team, man. Ryan Bates.
Ryan Bates play left guard, correct? In the system that he played last year. So then you have one position left, which is right guard. Now, Daryl Williams, do you know when his contract hits?
I think he'll be a free agent after next season. He has this year and next year left on the deal.
Okay. So that being said, that means that they could release him at any point because he's not considered a free agent this year. They could release him at any point and save that $6 million. I would say go out, draft somebody, or bring somebody in free agency. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do. There's there's a guard who was just released from the Tennessee Titans, I believe. I'm missing his name. If somebody could come up with that.
Roger Saffold.
Roger Saffold. That's the one. Saffold, a former Pro Bowler. And not that the Pro Bowl's anything anymore, but I think he may have been an All-Pro as well. Roger Saffold, really good. Hey, you want to make less money? Come to Buffalo. We could use a guy like you. If Daryl Williams is your best option, go with him. It's okay. But he was better at right tackle, and he was better at his position. The problem is he can't play right tackle anymore because that's Spencer Brown. And me and you talked about the fact you can't keep moving these guys around. You can't say, hey, we want you to learn this before you learn this. Learn your position and practice that. Get better each and every day.
Yep. Once again, ARich, Akeem Richards, Dan Kelly, in tune with Billsology. Last topic.
1 second.
Go ahead before we get into
Saffold is 34. Andrew Whitworth was 67, and he won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Excuse my hyperbole there. He's not, of course, 67, but these offensive linemen, they can play their elder age. So he's 34. I think he's still got at least 3 years left. I'll give him a 2-year contract. Give him a 1-year contract. Say, hey, play here. We're going to win the Super Bowl next year. If you don't want to win the Super Bowl, go sign elsewhere.
And I like Saffold a lot, man. I like Saffold a lot. He's 33. I think he will be 34 when the season starts. But again, you could use that in trying to get him into a decent contract, get him into a 2-year deal. I think
Brandon Sheriff, another name, probably a little bit more expensive.
He's gonna be a lot. I think he's gonna be a lot more expensive. He's in the prime years of his career. I think he's gonna be a lot more expensive. I don't even know if the Buffalo Bills will go there.
Some of his prime years were wasted, and it sucks when you see that happen to a player with so much talent and potential. You know, the team just hasn't been great around him.
Right. And Dan Kelly, I want to go into this guy right here. I want to get your thoughts. I want to get everybody's thoughts. Chandler Jones.
The main event is Chandler Jones today. Okay.
Chandler Jones. He's been in the airways. He's obviously a free agent. We've gotten news that it's not all about the money. What is your thoughts? What is everybody's thoughts on Chandler Jones? Because I'm one I've been on the train for about 6 weeks now. Go ahead and sign Chandler Jones. Find a way to get Chandler Jones in Orchard Park, Highmark Stadium, in a Buffalo Bills uniform, man. We've been hearing a lot of his talks, and a lot of his talks is making me believe that it is indeed a chance the Buffalo Bills can sign this man. If you was the GM, if y'all were the GM for the Buffalo Bills, would you go after a Chandler Jones?
Two questions, Rich. First question. That edit you had, was that Lorenzo Alexander with Chandler Jones' head on him?
It was Chandler Jones with Lorenzo Alexander's number on it.
Okay. I believe so. Okay. Second question. Why not? Why not? Because that's what you need. You need a veteran presence in here who is not, I don't want to say Hughes is washed up. I don't want to say that, but
past his prime is a nicer term. Past his prime.
Past his prime. Okay, we can go with that. I'm fine with that. Just not the same player he once was. So Chandler Jones is a guy who's been doing it for a long time. And I want to bring you guys to a quote from this past week that I read. And the problem is, Rich, it's such a mystery quote, and you've probably heard it as well. It said that a star defensive player hitting free agency reached out to the Buffalo Bills. That's what it said. Now, it didn't tell you anything about who the guy was, what his name was, what his position was. And then it came out again. So I don't know if that's two players or if that's one player, the same time. I'd like to know who it is, first of all. We're not going to know that. And there's a reason we're not going to know that. And I'd like to tell you all that. The media has a relationship with players, right? So if this is Chandler Jones and he was talking to somebody and he said, hey, I reached out to the Bills, but hey, don't tell anybody, like this is a you and me thing, and that guy leaks that it was Chandler Jones and Chandler Jones comes here, guess who he's not talking to? Well, he's not talking to that guy anymore because their relationship is now soured. There are certain conversations they have that just can't be leaked out. So that was what this was. Now, do you think it's Chandler Jones, Rich? Do you think it could be somebody else? Because this could be anybody. Now, it was said that it is a star player, which means, hey, this has got to be somebody good. Could you think of anybody else that could be? It was also said it was defensive player.
I can't think of anybody else. I think it is indeed Chandler Jones. If we star player, impact player, Who do we have out there as free agents? We have Von Miller. I don't think it's him. He's expressed desires and been flirting around with the Denver Broncos reunion.
What about
Stephon
Bobby
Gilmore?
Wagner?
Bobby Wagner. He was just released, though.
I know. What are your thoughts on Bobby Wagner?
I think, there's been reports. Now, I don't know how credible the source is, Chad Forbes, but he's reported that the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers can swing a trade for that would include Tremaine Edmonds. Now, again, I don't know how true them reports could be or how credible that source is. But if that was to happen, I would love a Wagner to come and be in the middle of that Buffalo Bills defense.
Now, I saw that reported trade, right? Now, you don't save anything from that. You save a little bit, but Tremaine Edmonds is he still on his rookie deal right now?
Yes, he is.
So what do you save? $4-5 million? Like, I don't know. What are you getting back? Think about this. Is it a draft pick? Would you be okay with trading Tremaine Edmonds for a draft pick or two?
You gonna put me on this spot?
I am gonna put you on the spot. This is your show. You are on the spot.
You gonna put me on the spot? Listen, if I knew, we talked about Wagner a little bit. If I knew for sure that because with these draft picks, we don't know who you're gonna get, right? We just discussed that. We don't know if that college player, Nakobe Dean, or one of these linebackers is going to be available to the Bills at 25, yet alone be a productive player in the NFL. We don't know yet. So if I'm going by the unknown, it would be hard for me to trade Tremaine Edmonds, even though I'm not crazy high on him. I think he's a good player, not a great player. But if I knew for sure I can get a Bobby Wagner, bye-bye, Tremaine.
Now
bye-bye, Tremaine.
Oldies, I see you in the comments, and you're kind of putting these messages out that aren't very positive. And this is one of them here. Sorry, Renaissance Man, I'll get to you in just 1 second. Oldies saying, but we can't free up cap space, right? Anything's possible. Kind of being a little condescending with that first part. We can free up cap space. And I told you that it is possible, of course. But the fact that somebody reached out to Buffalo and Buffalo's not reaching out to them is something to keep an eye on. Because how often do you hear that? How often do you hear, hey, this guy reached out to Buffalo? Mm-hmm. Josh Allen's been here 4 years now. And like, I know this is an attractive place to play, but this is the first time we're hearing of this. This is the first time that's come out, other than our mouths, Rich, because I believe we've said it before. But Renaissance Man with this one, thinking it could be J.C. Jackson that approached the Bills because of a chance to play against New England. Now, could it be J.C. Jackson? Yes, it could be. And this is a great comment. It could be anybody. I'm not going to shoot anybody down. As long as you're mentioning a star player in the comments, we will get to your comment and we will discuss it. The reason I don't think it's J.C. Jackson, there's two reasons. One, New England Patriots. I don't know what else I can say about that. New England Patriots to Buffalo Bills. It's happened before, of course, but it doesn't seem like he'd be a guy who would come in here and I don't know. I'm just going to go with that. And then the second reason to me is that it seems like he really wants to get paid. And that could be the reason that New England is not interested in him, is because he believes that he is worth a certain amount. Obviously, it happened with Gilmore. I think it's happened with a few of their defensive backs and safeties over the past. What are your thoughts on J.C. Jackson, Rich?
I like J.C. Jackson. I think
that.
Yeah.
Why?
I think he's a hell of a corner.
Did he not have a helmet-to-helmet hit on Josh Allen?
You know what? I don't remember. And J.C. Jackson, he doesn't look great against Buffalo when he's playing with against Stephon Diggs, but against the rest of the NFL, he's had a all-pro performance. I believe he was on an all-pro team. He was definitely a Pro Bowler this season, but I don't think it's J.C. Jackson. I'm going to read a quote. I want to talk about searching for oldies. He brings up some solid points about cap space and being cap strapped, and it's right. He's 100% accurate, but I'm going to say this. There are ways to finagle if it's indeed one player and if the contract could be manageable. Let's think about the Kansas City Chiefs last year. The Kansas City Chiefs last year didn't have any money. They was behind the 8 ball in cap space. But guess what? In the Super Bowl, they saw how Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaquille Barrett got to Patrick Mahomes time in and time out in the Super Bowl. What did they do? They somehow managed to free enough cap space up to pay Joe Turney and give him the most expensive contract in free agency. A team that didn't have no money went to not only get a star player, but paid him $80 million. So if the Kansas City Chiefs can do that, I think Brandon Beane is a wizard. He probably wouldn't go to that extent, but if he can get a Chandler Jones for a reasonable contract playing a premium position, I think he's going to find a way and will find a way to do so. And I'm going to go ahead and read this quote in terms of why I feel that it is Chandler Jones and why I feel that the Buffalo Bills should indeed go after him. This was Chandler Jones on Logan Ryan's podcast, the NFL Players Podcast, earlier this week. And I quote, "To be honest, it's not about the money at all," Jones said. "Where I am in my career, I've gotten contracts, I've gotten the Super Bowl, but I think scheme is huge. Or for me, winning more championships. I'll say it again. It's not about the money. I will say I want to go to a place that maximizes my talents. There have been times in my career where I caught myself out of position. I do take blame, but at the same time, it's like, hey, should I have been doing that? I have enough comfort where I am in my career at this age to say that." So being that he said that quote, I'm thinking, hey, it's not about the money. He said he wants to maximize his talents. I'm like, what the hell does he mean by maximizing his talents? And I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals and their defensive staff. He's been playing 3-4 his last 4 years. He's been playing 3-4 outside linebacker his last 4 years, where they're asking him to drop in coverage at times. And this quote specifically says, hey, should I be doing some of these things that I'm doing? I don't think he likes dropping back into coverage and playing that 3-4 defense. He wants to play in a scheme where he can get back to his originality, getting his hand in the dirt in a 4-3 defense. And with the Buffalo Bills, he has a chance at his scheme fit and maximizing his talent. So I think that is Chandler Jones based on these quotes. Again, I could be wrong, but that's just how I feel. Dan Kelly.
He likes spinning his ears back. He likes getting after the quarterback. We've seen it most of his career. And Rich, I usually say the famous lines, and if anybody in the comments knows the famous lines, it just goes like this: ARich, you're wrong. Those famous words do not apply to this, man, because I think it's Chandler Jones as well. After I saw the fact that he said it's not about the money, and the fact that, you know, Arizona has been a team that was supposed to be on the rise, but didn't quite get to that level just quite yet. I think it's time for a change of scenery, and I think Buffalo is a good place. And I want to go back to a point, because we talked about draft picks and how they're questionable and how it doesn't always work. And you talked about the fact that the Chiefs made money last year, and Oldies made the point that the Rams have done it and they've made money out of nothing. I'm not going to talk about it till it happens. Till the Bills make money, then I will talk about who they can go after and who is a viable option. But until that happens, it's kind of like the Deshaun Watson stuff too. Until that stuff happens, me talking about it is just bogus, because what can I tell you other than the fact that, hey, this guy's available and the Bills could be after him? I could say that about every single free agent in the league.
Technically,
the Bills could go after this guy, could go after this guy. Yes, anything can happen. I want to put that out there for you guys. Anything can happen. I love all y'all in the comments. Thank you for coming out. This is a great time with ARich on Billsology. If you don't know us, get to know us.
Get to know us. And I wanna say one more thing, and then we could get some more comments before we get out of here. If Dan Kelly have anything to say before we get out of here. Not only isn't about the money that he's been proclaiming this week. Just think about me personally. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I want Chandler Jones. I've been wanting Chandler Jones for a while now, and I'm going to continue to want him until he goes to the Buffalo Bills or somewhere else, right? But I'm thinking about the Buffalo Bills defense. Now, I know we was number 1 in the NFL. I know we have a pretty damn good defense. But one thing that Chandler Jones, in my opinion, brings is star power, man. star freaking power. 108 career sacks, 33 forced fumbles. He had a 17 sack season. He had a 19 sack season. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, All-Decade team. There's not a lot of players that can play in both schemes, 3-4 defense and a 4-3 defense. Usually 4-3 guys will struggle and will not play to the level they played in a 4-3 and vice versa. Chandler Jones gives you elite level play in any scheme, and that's something that is rare in the NFL. Any scheme player, only the great players can do that. This is a player that offensive coordinators would have to game plan for throughout the week. This is a player that quarterbacks is going to have to know where he is before each and every snap. This is a player that can free up other guys and make other guys around him better. This is a player in Chandler Jones when you need a big-time player to make a big-time play in a big-time situation. Chandler Jones is a guy that can go out there and do that. So with all these things, as much as I love the Buffalo Bills' #1 overall defense, they don't have those things. And this is why I want a Chandler Jones specifically for the Buffalo Bills, even if it's the one and only free agent we get this offseason. Bring Chandler Jones' ass to Buffalo.
Rich, your comment section is roasting me. Can you do anything about this? It's all love here, guys. I know you're going in at me. It's okay. I got thick skin. Yeah, call me damn bogus Kelly. Okay.
The spin's gonna get. He did a laugh out loud, so we're gonna say he's joking.
Tampering period begins on Monday, so yes. It's going to be fun for sure. But I want to get into this, Rich. You talk that Chandler Jones is the guy, and you mentioned a name earlier that we talked about, and we talked about him a lot. We talked about him last year. We've talked about him this year. He was traded this year, of course. Von Miller. Now, he's talked about going back to Denver, but I also read reports that that's not going to happen. I read a report today that said Von Miller going back to the Broncos. It's about a 20% chance that happens. Would he do the same thing as a Chandler Jones does? Because was he the reason that the Rams won the Super Bowl? Because you can argue the fact that he was. Him and Aaron Donald as a unit ruined that last drive for the Cincinnati Bengals. So my question for you is, if you had to choose one, who would you choose? Chandler Jones, Von Miller? And would you be happy if they had the one that you don't choose? Would you be happy if they got him if the other one wasn't available?
Oh, man. Von Miller, I think, excellent player throughout the course of his career. I'm not as high on Von Miller as I am on Chandler Jones.
Why not?
I just think, number one, I think I haven't seen him play a 4-3 defense. I could be wrong, but the Denver Broncos, he's been in the 3-4 defense his whole career with the Denver Broncos, playing that outside linebacker, that rush linebacker. And then he went over to the Rams and he's been playing that 3-4 defense as well. I believe in scheme. I think scheme matters. And I don't
think the Broncos may have ran a 4-3 while he was there.
Oh yeah, with Fangio. You
yeah, absolutely I think he played it for a little bit. I don't know what he prefers, but right. I think he's had time in both.
And you're absolutely right. I'm just not as high. I think he's further past his prime than Chandler Jones. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad, because he's still a household name. He's still considered a big name. But if I had to choose between the two, it's definitely Chandler Jones. I think Von Miller, like I said, is a little further past his prime.
Randy Gregory. I don't think so. I think I'd be out on Randy Gregory.
Nah, me neither. I'm not a fan. Not a fan on Randy Gregory. But that's an excellent question.
So, Rich, we got free agency this week. There's going to be a lot to talk about on conflict of interest next Sunday. If you guys don't know, Conflict of Interest is a podcast hosted by myself and Akeem Richens. Normally goes during every Sunday. It's normally a podcast during the season. That's how we went last year. This year, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be a live show coming at you on Sunday. We'll come up with a time for you guys. It'll all come out. But please don't miss it, because what we do on Conflict of Interest is me and Rich find some topics around the NFL, maybe some contracts, maybe some team fits, some scheme fits, a little bit of rhyme in there. I do have the bars if you guys are unaware. But please don't miss Conflict of Interest with myself and Akeem next week.
Yeah, man, most definitely. Next Sunday, time to be announced, time to be determined. Me and Dan Kelly will discuss that throughout the week. Should be an interesting week, everybody. Free agency, the frenzy, the tampering period is coming out.
I've already been on the lookout for everything. Any news that comes out regarding the NFL, I've been just looking at the phone, being on Twitter. If you guys aren't, I know that there's a lot of priorities going on right now, family and all that stuff. Keep an eye on your family. Keep the other eye on your phone screen for when those deals are coming in.
Right. Most definitely, man. Most definitely. This has been a great show, man. Anybody has any more questions? Anybody has any questions, random questions about the Bills?
Yeah. Let's get one question before
Miller,
we sign
Chandler
off.
Jones. Anybody that has any questions before we get out of here? Von Miller, Chandler Jones. Who would you like? Who would you prefer? Do you have any other questions? I seen a Cole Beasley question here.
I think we've done a lot on Cole Beasley. I think we should wait a little bit to talk some more on him. If you guys don't have any merch, be sure to hit bibfanshop.com and you can pick up the latest. Of course, you see Akeem rocking the sweater. I got mine, going to be debuting it next week for you guys. You're going to love it, especially you in the comments who are razzing me, because you're going to read it and be like, he's just the opposite of that. That is just the opposite. Spin, I dare you to ask a question. If it's a good one, we'll for sure pull it up.
Most definitely, Bill should sign Miller and convert him to a safety. I don't know
how that works.
No. But man, this has been again another great show, man. Another great show of Billsology.
Let's go Cole Beasley, Rich. Let's go with Joseph's question. Right. He put it in here twice. What happens when we lose Cole Beasley? Do you think anything in the offense changes? Do you think there's something that the Bills do differently regarding their scheme? Is the guy in the slot maybe targeted less? What happens?
I think if and when the Bills lose a Cole Beasley, wide receiver position becomes a priority need for the Bills. I think that if we lose priority
if they lose Cole Beasley, and when, most likely, because it's probably going to happen, they bring McKenzie back. Is it
Are they?
No. We're going NFL here. If they bring Isaiah McKenzie back, is it still a top priority for you, or does then it becomes a lower priority?
If they bring McKenzie back, it becomes a need, not a priority.
Okay.
Just a need. But right now, with McKenzie, because in my heart of hearts, I believe McKenzie's going to be a New York Giant. Something's telling me McKenzie.
You think they're getting Trubisky too?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Trubisky's going to be a hot name. I think there's going to be more QB needy teams other than the Giants that is going to probably dish out a little bit more money because they still have Daniel Jones and they don't know what they have in him, even though I don't think he's the guy either. I think they're going to give him a chance to be that guy. So I don't know if they're going to go after Trubisky as hard as other teams would, but I think Daniel Jones, he needs weapons. Brian Dable over there, Isaiah McKenzie. It looks like if not the Bills, it looks like a match made in heaven, in my opinion, between Isaiah McKenzie and the New York Giants. And if that happens and Cole Beasley does leave, man, even the 25th pick, I'm thinking, hey, if a certain receiver's out there that the Bills like at 25, then they may have to pull that trigger, depending on what happens in free agency.
So we've been going on about an hour and 45 minutes, but Rich, I just saw a question pop up that I can't shy away from. I can't shy away from it. And it's Renaissance Man, who's been very active in the comments. Shout out to you. Report that came out today about the Vikings possibly willing to part with Danielle Hunter at only 27 years old. Bean has to call. We talked a lot about defensive ends today, Rich. Whether you want to call Von Miller an outside linebacker, I really don't care. He rushes the passer, so I'm going to call him a defensive end. Yeah. Danielle Hunter, when I saw this and I saw the fact that the Bills may be interested, I was immediately interested. Danielle Hunter passes the eye test for me. He's been very successful. What are your thoughts on Danielle Hunter?
What does his contract look like?
It's
What is the
expensive.
what is the
I believe Danielle Hunter is expensive. Let me pull it up for you while you talk.
Yeah, I think he's a now I know he was hurt last year. I think he only played a handful of games. I know he's younger than Khalil Mack. He's only 27 years old, like Renaissance alluded to. I would be interested to see what his contract looked like, but that's a guy, that's a player that if things don't work out, right? Chandler Jones or Von Miller or whatever your vice is, then Danielle Hunter is definitely a guy I would be interested in, especially being that the Minnesota Vikings is looking to trade everybody and their mama, right? They looking to trade Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen and Danielle Hunter. So if we can do further business with the Minnesota Vikings like we did in the past and give up a mid-round selection for a Danielle Hunter, bro, I would be all for it.
The contract is pretty insane, Rich. I don't know when he signed it. That's what I'm trying to look for right now. He signed a 5-year contract worth, it looks like $72 million. So if that's the case, I don't know that the Bills are going to be in the picture. Again, anything's possible. I don't want people to not be able to believe that, but I think it may take a lot if you wanted Hunter. I think he's really good. I think he's really, really good. Maybe a top 10 defensive lineman to Danielle Hunter. But
I think, and looking at his contract, I think he has 3 years left on his deal. He's a
3 years left.
2024, he'll be a free agent.
Call me out. I'm not very interested anymore. 3 years left. The Bills already have contracts to worry about next year. And Oliver and possibly Edmonds. Diggs has to be reworked because I believe he's the 19th highest paid wide receiver in the league right now. So there's a lot of work to be done.
It's tough. It's all about it. How can Wizard Bean, can he maneuver contracts in a way that could still be beneficial to the Buffalo Bills in terms of accumulating players if need be? There's, like you said, Ed Oliver, Tremaine Edmonds is still on the team. There's Stephon Diggs to restructure. So there's still a lot of elements to the cap situation with the Buffalo Bills, and I think they have to be real. They're going to have to be real smart with frugal, smart with the selections and the guys that they acquire from here on out. But excellent question, Renaissance. I like the player, just that contract, $26 million cap hit in 2022. $26 million. Can you move around that cap money and make it lower? It all depends. So if we could do something like that,
you could restructure his contract when you trade for him, and it's possible. And hey, if the Bills do it, I think I'd be happy. But with everything that we know of that's already going on, what is it that we don't know of? We know these contracts are up. We know very little if you really think about it, compared to what the Buffalo Bills know, compared to what the NFL knows. Like we're not quite to that level.
Yeah, excellent question, Renaissance. Excellent question. You see any more questions before we get out of here?
Nah, Rich. I think everybody's had a great time at Billsology. They've had a great time razzing Mr. Dan Bogus Kelly and Akeem Richens.
Hey man, the thickest skin in the business is definitely Dan Kelly.
Brush it off the shoulders, guys. Catch me on Twitter at The Real Dan Kelly. Don't miss the conflict of interest next Sunday. And if Akeem wants me on Billsology, I'll be here too. I love all y'all. Let me hand it off to the host.
Hey man, excellent show once again. Very informational show, knowledgeable show. We appreciate everybody in the comment sections. Lone Wolf, John, searching. I forgot. Searching. What's his name? What's his name again?
Searching for oldies.
Searching for oldies, bro. Searching for oldies, man. Appreciate you. Even in controversy, right? We all have thick skin here, man. We all understand that everybody's going to have different opinions, and we are not afraid to address it, man. So another great show, another informative show. We appreciate everybody. Billsology once again next week, 9:30, same place, same time. Look out for conflict of interest with myself and Dan Kelly next Sunday. Time to be determined. Once again, ARich, Dan Kelly. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate everybody. And once again, never forget,